Do you reckon you're going to take Jason up on his recommendation and try the Christmas pizza?
No.
Why not?
I just don't know. That just doesn't sound like a nice pizza to me.
I kind of get put off by the cranberries.
He said it had cranberry sauce on it.
Yeah.
And I'm not a massive, like, you know, I don't have cranberry sauce on my Christmas dinner or anything like that.
I don't think cranberries belong on a pizza, quite frankly. Pineapple on a pizza is actually just wrong.
Have you tried it, though? It doesn't actually taste as bad as what you'd think it'd be.
I haven't
but
tried
I still
it.
don't agree. I still don't agree with it.
No, I know Mum has pineapple on her pizza sometimes, but I don't agree with it. It's not how the Italians would have wanted.
I notice when I sit down like this, I fidget a lot.
Yeah, I know. That's why I said
I constantly look at my phone, even though I'm not doing any. I'm not trying to actually look at my phone to do anything with it.
Mm-hmm.
I still pick it up because it's just I need a.
You need an outlet, and this is why I said to you when we were in Asda. Do you want a fidget toy?
Yeah. Have you ever seen when you go in a shop and you look at something, and it looks soft and squidgy? Do you feel like you always have to touch it? Because I've always had that. If something's soft and it looks nice to touch, I always feel like I need to touch it to test it. And now that will make sense to me.
Sometimes. Like, there are certain materials. Was that your stomach?
It was my stomach.
That's not going to go down well with this episode because we'll be talking a lot about food. Or lack thereof.
Again.
This is why I said to you, do you want to eat beforehand?
No, I'm fine. It's the coffee going down.
What do you picture when you hear Dr. Hazzard? That's generally the person's name. What do you think of when you hear Dr. Hazzard?
Well, it means stay away.
So who are you picturing?
Are they a genuine doctor?
That's debatable. But what are you seeing in your brain? Like, if I say to you, oh, we're going to go see Dr. Hazzard today, who are you imagining?
A doctor that you should stay the fuck away from, right? Or why did you keep asking that question and you're expecting a different answer?
I'm just saying, are you picturing like a man?
I've just told you, I'm just thinking of a doctor, I guess a male, that you should stay away from. That's
okay.
You need to give me more information. That is not enough.
I will give you more information. I just wanted to see what you were thinking of. So definitely not a man or a woman.
Or not a lot with the information you've given me.
Okay, right. This is Dr. Hazzard. Is that what you were thinking of?
Absolutely not. That's genuinely her name, Linda Burfield Hazzard, or is it which way around is it?
So Burfield is her maiden name.
Okay.
So Hazzard is her married name.
Linda Hazzard, 1867 till 1938.
Yeah, so this is an olden time case. Today we dive into the unsettling story of Dr. Linda Hazzard, a woman who claimed to heal through starvation and ended up being one of America's most notorious practitioners of alternative medicine. But to understand her properly, we need to start at the beginning. You're listening to Fit to Kill, hosted by Amber and Connor. Episode 3, Dr. Hazzard and her fatal sanitarium.
So she took fasting to a whole new extreme.
Yeah.
Is that what she was trying to do and they accidentally died of starvation?
I wouldn't say accidentally. So...
Okay. So she did starve them, she didn't fast. They weren't fasting, actively fasting. I suppose back then that wasn't really a thing.
It's kind of blurred lines in that. It's not fasting.
She starved them to death, 100%.
Yeah, pretty much. Spoiler alert. Linda Hazzard was anything but ordinary. She was a woman ahead of her time, an advocate for what she called fasting therapy.
Oh, she did call it fasting therapy.
But behind her charming facade lay a dark obsession with control and a questionable understanding of health. Linda Laura Burfield was born in 1867 to Susanna Ann Montgomery Burfield. Montgomery, that's an amazing name.
I have heard it before.
Oh no, I've heard of it before. I've heard of it, but it's not one that you hear that often. Also, it's pretty stunning, isn't it?
It sounds posh.
Yeah, could you imagine being like, oh hi, this is my child Montgomery?
My name is Sebastian Montgomery.
Oh my god, please, next time we go to Black Sheep, can you be Sebastian Montgomery?
No, I'm going to be Drew P. Balls. Drew. And then B-A-H-L-Z.
No, you need to be Drew. No, P, as in like that's standing in for a middle name. And then you need to spell...
Yeah, P's the middle name, yeah. Drew P. Balls. As in B-H-A-L-Z.
What was the one that you nearly got away with and then the manager caught on? Mike Oxbig.
Mike Oxbig. You could also say Mike Oxsmall. Mike Oxsmall. I might try that one next time.
Susanna and Montgomery, who, let's be honest, I like to think that he went by Monty, because Montgomery's a bit of a mouthful. They lived in Minnesota. It's not really part of America that I'm that well versed with, to be honest. They had 7 children, and Linda was their eldest. Her childhood was fairly happy by all accounts, which is odd because most serial killers have some sort of messed up childhood. But then I think it's also important to know that I don't think Linda thought what she was doing was dangerous, let alone deadly. Like, from what I've read, I think she truly believed in her practice. And then the financial stuff that comes into it later, I feel like it's a bit of a side hustle, like a benefit, like, oh no, and then it kind of escalated from there. I don't know, I'm a little bit torn, because I feel like if you read her work and all the other stuff, I think she truly thought she was helping people. But then there's the money side of it, which is a bit sus. Her parents kept a vegetarian household. Mr. Kellogg promoted vegetarianism. Do you recognise that name?
Mr. who?
Kellogg.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
This is cool.
So the guy, I mean, this is literally the only time he actually factors into this, but obviously Mr. Kellogg, as in Kellogg cereal, he promoted vegetarianism. So yeah, her parents promoted a vegetarian household. Mr. Kellogg was promoting vegetarianism. So I think there's like this big thing on that. Bit like when the vegan boom happened about 20 years ago.
Vegan? I didn't know it was 20 years old.
Well, it's obviously
I thought it was like 10 years ago.
Could be, yeah.
100%. 20, no, that's wrong, Amber.
I know people have been vegans for a while, but I also think that the veganism became popular, definitely, probably about 10 years ago, yes.
Do you know there was a woman when I was sat in Kokoro?
Right.
Yeah, and I was eating, obviously, meat, and this crazy woman activist came up to me and started lecturing me and like almost shouting at me for eating what I was eating. It was ridiculous. Anyway, I got the hump, as you would expect, but then she was actually in the Get Surrey. She'd been banned in Guildford because of it.
What, because she just went up to everybody with a meat dish?
She was harassing everyone.
Yeah.
Like, and she looked nuts. And by the way, she did not look healthy. How do you expect a hippie lady who looks unwell, malnourished, old?
Oh my gosh, she sounds like that vegan teacher on TikTok.
Well, either way, she was just
Speaking
ridiculous.
Of which,
it's crazy.
Have you seen the bearded lady in Guildford?
Yes, I have seen her. She's dead now.
Well, that's what I was going to ask, because I was going to say I hadn't seen her in a while.
No, I did see her, and I remember the first time I saw her, I was in McDonald's at the top of the food court, and I was with my dad.
And
he said something about the bearded lady, or bearded woman. It had been in discussion. And I turned around and I was like, oh my God, it's the bearded lady. She had proper beard, pretty much.
Yeah, I know she did.
And then she died.
Oh, that's sad.
I know.
Did you find a new one?
Imagine being named as a bearded lady of a town.
I know, could you imagine?
It must have been not very nice for her.
I don't know her name.
That was before lasering was really a thing.
Yes, but shaving was still a thing.
Yeah, I know, but bless her.
Now, anyway, back to Monty and his household. I think Monty was trying to be a good parent because he made sure that his children regularly saw the doctor. But I think he might have taken it to the extreme, as he took his children to the doctors even when they weren't ill, as he believed that modern medicine could prevent illnesses before they happened, as well as curing them once contracted. The doctor told Monty that his children were suffering from intestinal parasites, despite not showing any symptoms. He then prescribed the Burfield children, which included Linda, a blue mass pill, which contained licorice. And then it also contained althea glycerol, rose honey, and large amounts of mercury.
Oh, that's not good.
No.
That's not good.
I mean, to be fair, this is like Victorian England that we're thinking of, and they did obviously have, well, it's not England, it's America, but in Victorian England, they had arsenic in pretty much everything. Because that's how they got the green colour in like their wallpapers and their paint, because they put arsenic in it to make it.
I have no idea. That's not a fact I know.
No, I'm pretty sure it's arsenic, because Victorian England was very popular for poisonings as well. Like a lot of murders were done by poisoning, because I think arsenic was just so readily available. So yeah, the fact that obviously probably in what would have been Victorian America, if they've got arsenic in their wallpaper, doesn't surprise me that they've got mercury in their drugs.
And we got it in our fish now.
No, don't start with that.
We have.
Is it actually proven?
Yeah, of course it is. It's you can still get away with eating fish as you normally would, but if you're eating lots of it, then it could, I guess, have potential consequences. Especially, and that's why Robert Kennedy is now in charge of the health in America, because he grew up with the environment, like he works a lot with the environmental side of things, and he was talking about the mercury in the fish in the water in our oceans now. But anyway,
so the NHS website doesn't cover mercury poisoning, or at least to what I could find, but I did find some information on the UK government website, and according to their website, we are exposed to small amounts of mercury in the environment, in soil, water and air, owing to natural and human processes. So I guess that makes sense, because it says water. The major natural sources of mercury in the environment are degassing from the Earth's crust, emissions from volcanoes and evaporation from water bodies, but this is not enough to cause any adverse health side effects.
Yeah, whatever. Don't believe them.
I don't think
they would say that though, wouldn't they? But anyway.
Okay, putting politics aside, I had to try and find a reputable source. And I feel like the UK government has to, on their website, has to be some sort of... Because otherwise you could go to any website and then be like, oh yeah, but that's like left-leaning, that's right-leaning. Like,
no, of course, yeah.
I tried to go to an official body for this. So, however, it then goes on to say that, quote, swallowing small amounts of elemental mercury is unlikely to cause adverse health effects. If large amounts are swallowed, nausea, vomiting and stomach pain can occur. And funnily enough, this is what Linda is ingesting, large amounts of mercury. So Linda's doctor, when she's a little kid, is giving her that blue pill, which has the rose honey, the licorice, and mercury.
Yeah, mercury in it.
So she's consuming large amount of mercury. And if you scroll down, they have a section on mercury and children. And don't forget, like I said, like Linda is a child at this point.
Yeah.
And it says, quote, children may be more susceptible to the neurotoxic effects of mercury as their central nervous system is still developing. The symptoms and features of this are muscle cramps, irritability, skin redness and swelling, peeling of skin, itching, fever and sweating. So, unsurprisingly, Linda, who is ingesting mercury, experienced vomiting and diarrhea. Her teeth fell out and she was painfully thin.
Oh God, that's so bad.
I know.
Your teeth falling out.
Yeah, and she's being prescribed this by a doctor.
Yeah, I know, it's terrible.
And the American medical system is messed up anyway.
It's not a nice image to put in your head.
No, especially when she's a minor as well at this point.
How old is she roughly?
I don't know, but under 18.
Okay, probably quite young.
She then came to the realisation that it wasn't the intestinal parasites that the doctor told her that she had that were making her ill. Like I said, probably because they were actually fictitious, because she didn't have internal parasites at all.
No.
But she realised it was the medication prescribed by her doctor that was making her ill. So when she hit 18, and I'm assuming that that's when she made the realisation, she stopped seeing her doctor and stopped taking her meds. And surprise, surprise, she recovered and felt a lot better.
Right.
Funny how you stop taking the poisonous mercury that you then feel better, right?
Well, good that she stopped taking it.
Years later, she wrote, I now know that this powerful poison did irreparable injury to my intestines, retarding and preventing their development and growth to such a degree that even to this day I'm compelled to resort to the enema daily. You don't know what an enema is, do you?
No.
An enema involves inserting liquid directly into your rectum to help you poop.
Oh yeah, I have heard of that. That's luby.
Lubey, it's just water.
Is it water?
Well,
or
I'm
is it like putting
assuming
like a
so.
lube up there to help it come out better?
It just says involves inserting liquid directly into your rectum to help you poop. Most people use them to relieve constipation that hasn't improved with other treatments and as a colon cleanse to prepare for colonoscopy.
I've seen that.
So if you'd gone through with yours, you would have had to have done that.
I'm not, not by choice.
And don't forget, she says in her writing, I'm compelled to resort to the enema daily. So she was doing that daily. Because her doctor had poisoned her as a kid, basically.
That's horrible.
Funny
how she's become the doctor, sorry.
Well, yeah, but then surely, like...
But you'd want to help people get better.
Well, yeah, and you'd want to learn... Like, if you've been lied to like that, or mistreated like that, you'd want to know more, right? Knowledge is power. So the more that you know, the more that you can... Well, I say help others. She might not want to, but the more that she can actually look after herself, at least.
Yeah.
I don't think helping others was anything she wanted to do.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I just feel like it's important to bring up because when we get onto her treatments for her patients later down the line, I think you can really see where her controversial cures and remedies come from. I feel like it works for me, so it's going to work for you situation. It's because of her backstory that I believe that Linda didn't actually see anything wrong with what she was doing. And it's because of this that I feel like she truly did think that what she was doing was right. I think the fraud and the embezzlement that comes later was just more of an added bonus. So in 1886, Linda married her first husband, Irwin A. Perry, and sadly Monty Montgomery, her dad, died a month after the wedding.
At least you got to see it.
Linda and Irwin would go on to have 2 children, a son. Now, it's written here like as in Rawling, but like I was listening to this podcast and this woman had like a really awful American AI sounding voice and it was like Rawling. So I'm like, I don't, like, was his name Rolling? Like, or...
Yeah, but, well...
She had 2 children, a son, Rawling.
You'd just say Rawling, wouldn't you? Not Rolling.
I don't know.
Rawling.
I don't know. She had a boy in 1889 and a daughter, Nina, in 1891. So I'm not going to go too much into detail into this, but I just thought it was interesting, as most podcasts that I've listened to on Dr. Hazzard don't actually mention that she had a family and that she had children. And I just think that this paints a more rounded picture of a woman who's often portrayed as being quite callous. Irwin randomly disappeared in 1898, and in 1902, Linda filed for divorce against Irwin, stating his disappearance or abandonment as the main reason.
Did he run away or did she kill him?
Well, I don't know. I genuinely don't know about that.
He...
But again, also, if he up sticks in 1898, she didn't actually file for divorce until 1902. That's 4 years later. Why are you waiting 4 years to divorce someone who you feel like someone's abandoned?
I'm already suspicious about that.
Are you?
Mm.
Yeah, but is that just because I've told you she's not a nice person?
Did she report him missing in that time?
Again, I don't think so.
Exactly. 100% she killed him. No question.
Like, I don't even know why he left. To be honest, if that was me, I probably would have declared you dead.
Well, you would have had a funeral, wouldn't you? You wouldn't have just waited 4 years and then gone, oh, I'll divorce him.
Well, yeah.
Wouldn't you want to? Yeah, exactly. Guilty already.
I mean, like, I don't know. Like 4 years later, if you hadn't come back, no sign, no note. Car gone.
Exactly. So, is there any facts around this that suggest that he went missing or she reported him or anything? It was just he went missing and then she's filed for divorce.
Literally, he just randomly went missing.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, again...
And did that ever get resolved?
No.
So back then, you could freaking do anything you want.
Well, yeah, no CCTV, no computers.
It'd be like the Wild Wild West.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah.
But, like, I don't know. If I was her, I would rather be like, oh, do you know what? You died, than you abandoned me. I feel like that would be less heartbreaking. For me, personally.
I just realised what you said. You'd rather me be dead than run away.
Yeah.
Ah, nice.
Well, no, because, like, if you died, okay, yeah, you left me, but it's not your fault. Whereas if you if you ran away, it'd be like, oh, he doesn't love me anymore. Like, what have I done?
He can't live on without me if I'm not happy, kind of thing.
It'd be more heartbreaking. Surely, look, if you were in that position...
Wow, than dying? Are you serious?
No. But if the shoe...
I know what you're saying.
If the shoe
I can
was
see
in
what
the
you're
other
saying.
foot, would you rather that I just ran off and left you randomly without telling you anything, or that I died? What would be less heartbreaking for you?
That you'd run away.
Really?
Yeah.
What, even if I ran off with another bloke? Because he might have done that.
Yeah, I'd be pissed, but I'd be like, fuck it. It's like...
What, and I've left you two
Clearly
kids at
she
home?
wasn't happy. Yeah, like, you'd be pissed and wanting to find answers, wouldn't you? But you wouldn't waste your energy getting distraught by that when you got to deal with kids. You'd have to kind of get on with it.
Yeah, but then what would you tell the kids?
Well, it depends whether they're old enough to know yet. Or obviously, you'd have to tell them how you'd word it or how you'd break it out to them over time, I guess.
Okay, well, the youngest, Nina, would have been 7.
Yeah, that's a tough age, isn't it?
Yeah. I'd just tell them you died. I'd be like, Daddy died, sorry.
I don't know whether I'd word it as if they're dead. I'd be like, they're gone and they're not coming back type of thing. And slowly, I'd only try and work it into the... over time that, they died. But I don't know if I'd straight up go, yeah.
Well, no, I wouldn't word
dead.
it. I wouldn't be like, hey, kid, your dad's dead.
That'd
Pizza?
be brutal for a 7-year-old.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's something they'd have to... You couldn't leave them hanging on that idea for long. Do you know what I mean? You'd have to get it through to them. How you do that? I don't know. That's a difficult conversation anyway.
Mm. So, and in 1898, so the year that Irwin disappeared, Linda started fasting. Although it's not confirmed, I imagine that this was probably a trauma response to her abandonment from Irwin, which, if it is actually a pretty normal reaction. It's thought that abandoned spouses go through a similar emotional process as those whose spouses died. However, the abandoned spouse experiences the additional struggle of being rejected and often lacks the support needed to overcome their loss. So that's why I'd rather you just died.
I see.
Because you know how I feel about rejection.
Yeah.
And if you'd run away, I have to deal with you being gone and then also being rejected.
I can see why that would be upsetting.
It is thought that nutrition fasting can bring a sense of achievement, pride, and self-control, which I can understand, and that to me is probably the only reason why someone would actually enjoy intermittent fasting.
I'd think of it for the health benefits, but...
Have you actually intermittent fasted?
No. But when I wasn't very well, before we went to Cyprus, I was not eating till like midday, because I wanted my digestive system to sort of heal itself, get used to not having shit in it. Do you know what I mean? It's good for you. It is good for you.
Cleanse.
Yeah, it is good for you. Really good for you fast. But I just like my food too much.
Well,
but there are definitely health benefits to it. 100%.
See, I don't know if I
the
fully
body
agree
does
with
repair
that.
itself.
That I agree with. The body does repair itself.
But obviously, the people will do water fast, so they're having water. Sometimes they have like a bone broth or something with it, like, you know, if they're doing a long fast. But I don't think it's recommended to do more than a, I don't know, 72-hour fast maybe.
I wouldn't even say that. Surely like 12 hours is enough.
No.
Because, I mean, I tried intermittent fasting
that's not long enough.
like for a week.
That's not long enough.
I couldn't cope.
You'd need to do longer, which is why people do longer, and they say the health benefits from it and how the clarity they get from it. People have used it to heal diseases. I was reading it somewhere that this lady had hepatitis B or A, one of the two, and she fasted and she got tested again and it had gone. So there are definitely stories out there that suggest that it can heal you.
I guess if it's like a parasite, if you're not eating, it's not got
your bad cells then start to eat themselves, I think, effectively.
I don't know. I still don't agree with fasting. I'm very much a case of like, if I'm hungry, I'll eat.
It is meant to be. Trust me, you should look into it, research it. It's interesting.
I know, but you're hungry all the time and then you get irritable.
No, so you're hungry all the time because you're insulin. So every time you eat sugar and carbs, your insulin spikes.
Yeah,
which then makes you feel you know, when you eat something and you want to eat, you straight away afterwards you want to eat something again. That's because your blood insulin's shot up, I think. So fasting, you learn to use your fat stores rather than carbs. Trust
yeah,
me.
I know. That's why people do intermittent fastings.
But I know Eddie Abu, like people would say he's too
Yeah.
too
much?
too extreme, but he is talking sense.
So that's where you got all your facts from. You got it from Eddie.
No, it is. There's athletes now that have gone on to no carb diets. It is good for you to live that way. How do you think our ancestors and stuff have survived when they were like hunter gatherers? They animal fat. They didn't have blood.
Fat is an energy source. I will give you that.
Chocolate bars and all that.
Yeah, well, that's just a sad time to
You know
live
what I
in,
mean?
then, isn't it? Really.
But yeah, although Eddie says not to, he doesn't say anything about eating vegetables, which I think eating vegetables are okay for you. Some people argue that they're not that beneficial. Some people say they're very beneficial.
Who says vegetables are not that beneficial?
I think that's something that Eddie Abu has said. Anyway, moving on.
But that's categorically wrong with all the vitamins and minerals that are in vegetables.
But out of everything that you could be eating, vegetables aren't that bad. I think you still need all the nutrients from them. But he says like the nutrients you get from like beef liver and stuff are more than. So you know, there's extremes to it. Like just be sensible. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, well, Eddie says
go
that you
too
shouldn't
far.
be eating almond croissants.
But I definitely
think
think like I'd actually, if there was a diet I was to try, I would try the carnivore diet. But I'm not. I think I'd get sick of red meat.
that would be expensive as well.
But I also can't eat eggs anymore, so.
That's sad. Linda started to pursue a career in nursing in around 1902, so that's the year she filed for divorce, and she sent her children to go live with her mother, hence why they are pretty much out of the picture later on. She then opened a private practice in her apartment, although it is unclear whether Linda actually had a medical licence at the time, and she discovered the writings of Edward Hooker Dewey, a fasting specialist. Linda's journey really kicked off when she then studied under the controversial physician, that's a word I can't say, Edward Hooker Dewey, until his death 4 years later. He introduced her to alternative medical practices, and after her marriage, she began to develop her own methods, drawing on the theories of natural healing and dietary restriction.
It sounds promising, though. It doesn't sound too. Why not? But I agree she should have a medical license. But
Yeah.
probably back then, she's probably just trying to teach what she's learnt from books and whatever.
I could just imagine her like today just going on Etsy and faking a medical license.
Like now, that wouldn't be acceptable. But well, people try and do it still, don't they?
Well, yeah, I mean, you only got to fast forward to 1960s, Catch Me If You Can. And you're the guy that faked being a pilot.
Yeah.
You've seen Catch
There's
Me
a
If
film
You Can.
about it.
Yeah, with Leonardo DiCaprio and Christopher Walken. Yeah, you've seen it, haven't you?
I have seen it. I can't remember it though.
I was going to say, I literally just said Catch Me If You Can and you looked at me blank.
Yeah, because I didn't know whether you were referring to the film or not.
I was. And she opened a sanitarium on Whidbey Island where she promoted a cure for various ailments. What do you think her approach was? So she's promoting a cure for various ailments. So basically, if you came to me and said, I'm sick, and I go, just do this, what do you think she's going to say?
Well, fast.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, so her approach was starvation, basically. She believed that the human body could cleanse itself through extreme deprivation. Many were drawn to her promise of wellness and healing, which is pretty much what you said with the woman with the hepatitis.
Yeah, it does work.
But it has to be done safely.
Yeah, of course.
And this is the issue.
It should be done with guidance. You should know what you're doing when it comes to that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I don't think Linda did.
No.
Again, I think it was very
How
much
long has she had fasted for at this point?
I don't actually know. I mean, she had to eat at some point.
Well, she should be dead. So, yeah.
Yeah. Again, I also think she's being a massive hypocrite as well. I don't think she's putting these people through as long of a... I feel like she's making them fast longer than what she probably did. And if she did fast...
She's probably using them as guinea pigs, just to see...
Maybe. And I feel
what
like
could be done without putting herself in jeopardy.
Yeah, could you imagine? Yeah, no, it totally works.
Yeah,
I do it all the time.
Do.
I think her fasting or her starvation, though, I think a lot of it's more like emotional. I think because of the abandonment from Erwin, I think a lot of it is just the fact, like when people experience extreme grief, they just stop eating.
What did he run away or did she kill him? That's what I want to know.
I can't answer that.
I think him leaving was a bit suspicious.
But then I think if she'd killed him, she wouldn't have gone to the trauma response of not eating.
Unless she feel guilty about it.
But the patients flocked to her clinic, and they were often desperate for relief from chronic illnesses. They arrived seeking hope, but they encountered something far more sinister. Under the guise of care, Hazzard imposed strict fasting regimes that led many to severe malnutrition and even death. Allegedly, her first victim was a 41-year-old woman called Gertrude, who had suffered...
Gertrude! There used to be a mannequin at school in textiles that used to, and they had names. One of them was called Gertrude.
Right, first of all, why did you have a mannequin, and why were they named?
Because my tutor room was in one of the textiles classes, and they had mannequins in there. And, you know...
Yeah, but we didn't have mannequins in our textile rooms.
That's because our textile rooms are better than yours.
All right.
You was a sports college.
Yeah, I
wasn't
know.
it? It's actually called a sports college.
Actually, it is. Yeah. And yet I got put in the bottom set for PE.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
That was one set I was always top setting.
But ours were based on our cross-country runs, and I'm like, I just don't run. Put me in tug of war, I'll be the anchor, I'll win.
Long distance running, so
yeah, no, I can't.
I was good at most sports.
So that grading was bullshit. What? Gertrude had suffered a stroke that rendered her left side of her body partially paralysed.
So she got a stroke?
Yeah, she'd had a stroke.
She had a stroke from... Was this from fasting?
No.
Oh, she just had one.
Yeah, she just had one.
Okay.
She'd seen doctors and was told that her limbs could never recover. Gertrude was unhappy, and the repercussions from the stroke meant that she struggled to do simple tasks, such as dressing herself independently. And because of this, she needed all-around-the-clock care. Gertrude reached out to Linda, who prescribed her with a 40-day fasting regime. Do you know who else fasted for 40 days?
40 days?
Yeah.
No, that's too long.
Yeah, I know.
40 days.
Now, I'm not religious,
Wow.
so I don't know if I'm actually making this up. But didn't Jesus fast for 40 days and 40 nights? Because isn't that where, Lent comes from?
Sounds about right, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm wondering, again, America would have been a lot more religious back in that time as well. Did she just choose that because of Jesus?
I'm not sure. It depends what this guy was, who she was getting the information from and learning from about.
That's true, but yeah.
Was there any information in there regarding 40 days and 40 nights fasting?
I mean, I've literally just thought of that now, actually. Like, that correlation. It might be related, it might not be. But I just thought it was interesting.
Well, imagine eating for not eating for 40 days.
I can't go 4 hours without eating, let alone 40 days.
You must be so tired and drained. I think you'd die mostly from doing that if you were to do that right now.
Well, 3 weeks into her treatment, Gertrude was struggling. One morning, she woke up violently vomiting. A nurse called an actual doctor, Dr. Eugene Williams, who had treated Gertrude in the past. According to Williams, her skin was yellow and her body sunken. He demanded that Gertrude break her fast and eat something, but she refused, convinced that Dr. Linda Hazzard's treatment was the miracle cure that she had been looking for. This is so frustrating because an external person's actually stepped in here. So with Gertrude refusing to break her fast, with her faith firmly in Dr. Linda Hazzard's hands, Dr. Williams, the actual doctor, left. Gertrude died moments later from starvation on the 18th of November 1902. She had made it 39 days out of her 40-day fast.
That is horrendous. Imagine getting that close. But again, you got to be... Why would you do that? For 40-day fast?
Common sense has to kick in at some point,
Well, you'd
right?
get to a point where you go, okay, yeah, this needs to stop.
But yeah, I can see why she said no. Because I feel like, especially if this was you...
Was this her first time fasting and she just got told 40 days, that's it, and then she went and done it and died?
Probably.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, Jesus. That must have been awful.
Well, and that's the thing, it's moments later. So, like, literally, like, he left. It wasn't like a day later or anything like that. Like, moments after he'd left, she died. So he could have saved her. Well, he tried to save her. But her stupidity and stubbornness eventually caused her
What
own
would it
demise.
have been like to have something to eat then? Can you imagine that?
She wouldn't have been able to have eaten much because the stomach wouldn't have coped with it.
No.
It would have had to have been like liquid calories.
That might have even caused trouble anyway, like implications trying to eat after doing that.
I mean, like hot chocolate would have been ridiculously expensive back then because it was like a...
I don't think you'd get hot chocolate back then.
No, you would have done.
Really?
Yeah. So like, especially like in the Tudor times, like sugar was seen as like this high commodity. Like if you could afford like to have sugar, that's deemed to be like having a Lamborghini.
Yeah.
And hot chocolate.
It was a sign of wealth.
Yeah, and hot chocolate became that commodity.
As were pineapples.
During the 1800s. Yes, pineapples, but I don't think that was Tudor. I think that was more Georgian, I think. But yeah, hot chocolate would have been one of those things during the time. So, but the reason I've said that is because obviously that's a high calorie drink. So they wouldn't have necessarily had access to that, but that probably would have been the best thing for her to have had. Because then at least she's getting calories, she's digesting something without it being food. Because if she'd gone solely straight back into food, that could have caused her more issues.
Yeah, it'd have to be something not like solid or too solid.
So Gertrude, when she died, weighed only 105 pounds, or in English to you and me, 47 kilos.
That's small, but that's not as small as I was expecting.
Well, I'm 56.
No, I know. So that's 10 kilos less.
But
I don't think that's massive. Like, that's a lot of weight, and that would look like skinny, but it doesn't strike me as starving skinny.
But then also think about how tall she was. I don't know how tall
big
she
was
is.
she before?
But bear in mind, I'm 5'1", 5'2". So for me, it's not a lot. If she was say 5'7",
it's not a lot.
And
right.
she's like 47 kilos. Linda said that Gertrude had died because of her chronic paralysis. But Dr. Williams, who just so happened to be the county coroner as well, performed an autopsy, and he was like, no, Linda, she didn't die of that. She died of starvation, 100%. Dr. Williams couldn't understand why Dr. Hazzard would want to kill her patient until it was discovered that Gertrude was missing large amounts of jewellery and expensive items from her home. Linda claimed that Gertrude had given her the jewellery to pass on to another nurse, who conveniently nobody could track down. Dr. Williams pursued legal action against Linda, who had claimed that Gertrude was recovering. She had apparently regained the use of her right foot and even her arm, which is great because the source said that it was her left side that was affected by the stroke. So I'm not really too sure how much of an achievement saying that her right side was recovered. Yeah. Unless it's just me being thick and I've misinterpreted it and it was left one foot and arm rather than meaning like the actual left side. You know, like
left one foot and arm. Yeah, that's not. Yeah.
So potentially it was her right side that was affected.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know whether I've just misinterpreted it, but that makes more sense. Either way, Hazzard was never prosecuted because there were no laws against the practice of fasting in the state of Minnesota. So despite the fact that someone had died because of her, there was no legal grounds for a case. So she got away with it on a technicality.
Yeah. Also, she hadn't directly killed them. They had killed themselves, theoretically.
Yes.
Through her advice. So,
if anything, she would be like, what, aiding and abetting? Assisting? But I gotta say, I do like Dr. Williams. Like, I like the fact he stepped in, he did what he needed to do, and he even tried to take legal action against her. So he tried to stop this right from the very start. So, I mean, his attempt failed, but well done, Dr. Williams, for at least trying. In 1903, Linda met her second husband, Samuel Hazzard. He was already married, but when they met, but eventually he left his wife for Linda. There was like a whole affair going on with that, and his wife didn't know about Linda. He went back to his wife, and then he went, nah, sod this, and then he left his wife for Linda. So that was a whole thing, but I thought I was going to skip.
Yeah, thank you.
So in 1906, Hazzard moved to Washington State, which is in Seattle. Not actual Washington DC, because I needed clarity for that, because obviously I don't live in the US and I don't know the US geography. So she moved to Seattle,
which is called Washington State.
Yes.
See, I think that would be in Washington DC.
Yeah, so she didn't move to where the White House is. She moved to a place called Washington. in Seattle.
Okay, right.
So she moved to Starbucks because that's where they're from. Then we had Daisy Maud Haglund, a Norwegian immigrant, and she became one of Dr. Linda Hazzard's early victims, tragically succumbing to the extreme fasting regime prescribed by Hazzard in 1908. Under her care, Daisy endured a harrowing 50 days of starvation, a method Hazzard claimed would restore her health. At the time of her death, Daisy left behind a 3-year-old son, Ivor, but Ivor was okay because he went on to go achieve great things and actually had a very successful business. I did look at the business, but it didn't mean anything to me, so I didn't include it.
His mum died.
Yeah, Daisy died after 50 days of starvation.
50? She made it to 50?
50.
Whoa. That's...
I don't know about you, but I just feel like Linda's picking these numbers out of thin air.
What, as in the dates? How long they're fasted for?
Yeah. So,
oh, right, so that might not even be true.
No, not as in like after they died, but I feel like she's just looking at them and being like, yeah, 40 days should do it.
Oh, yeah. Someone died at 39, you should definitely do 50.
Yeah.
There's the logic in that.
Well, and that's the thing, isn't it? Like, she's already had Gertrude die at this point. Gertrude didn't make it to 40. So when Daisy comes along, rather than going, oh, maybe I should temper my expectations, she's gone 50. The stories of her patients are harrowing. One of her most infamous cases was that of Claire Williamson, a wealthy woman who had come to Hazzard seeking treatment for her ailments. Under Hazzard's care, Williamson's health deteriorated rapidly. She lost more than £40 and ultimately her life. She was 33. Orphaned daughters of an English army officer, Claire and her older sister, Dorothea, also known as Dora, were staying at the luxurious Empire Hotel in Victoria, British Columbia. So I'm pretty sure that's Canada, right? Yeah?
Yeah, I think it might be, actually.
So they came across an advertisement for Hazzard's book. Despite not being seriously ill, the sisters sought relief from various minor ailments. Dora's swollen glands and rheumatic pains, and Claire's concerns over a dropped uterus. In their quest for wellness... Why are you laughing at a dropped uterus?
That sounds rough. Is that exactly what I think it is? When you say dropped uterus?
I don't know. What are you thinking?
Well, their uterus is hanging lower than normal.
Yeah, it's not like hanging out.
It's closer to the gates than it should be. Is that what?
It's by the gates anyway. What are you on about?
That's what I. That's what I mean. It's what I mean.
I remember once, my boss at the gym telling me that this woman wasn't like bouncing up and down and stuff in the class, and he was like, "Are you okay?" And he took the mic off to have the conversation with her.
She had a dropped uterus.
Pretty much, I think she said prolapsed.
Oh. Well, that is external.
Yeah, this is why when the instructor says to you, do you have any injuries?
Why would you be doing a class if you were prolapsed?
I don't know.
Weird. No.
But like, this is the thing, if somebody says to you at the beginning of a fitness class, right, hello everybody, does anyone have any injuries I need to know about?
Do you say that?
That is one of them.
Do you say that at the start of your classes?
I do.
Do you actually?
Yeah,
Does anyone have any injuries?
Yeah, I need to know whether anyone's got any injuries, because then if we're going to do stuff that's going to make it worse, at least I can provide them
first place, then, would they?
Well, no, not necessarily. Like, if you've got bad knee or hip joints or ankles, you don't necessarily want to be doing all of the jumping around.
Yeah, right,
so at least I can say to you, okay, we'll just stick to a body squat. You know? Or if you can't put pressure on your wrists, you can't do mountain climbers, at least you can do, like, climb the rigging and stuff like that. Or, you know, if you've got something more serious...
Like a prolapsed arsehole.
The fitness professional has the option to say to you, maybe you shouldn't be doing the class, you know, or maybe you should be trying something like yoga or Pilates just until you're a bit more able.
Kept together.
Yeah, because the thing is, we could hurt someone if we don't know what we're walking into. I know that's quite an embarrassing thing to admit, but nobody's asking you to announce it to the entire class. Just pop your hand up, and then the instructor, if they're any good at their job, will come over and they'll turn the mic off. So then at least you can have that conversation in private.
Don't want the whole class hearing that. Oh,
Yeah,
I've got
exactly.
a prolapse vagina.
But it winds me up so much. I have it so often when I'm like, does anyone have any injuries? No? Okay, cool. We do the class. And then I say to someone, okay, right, I just want you to just get a little bit lower, do this, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, I can't because actually I've got a dodgy knee, or like I've done this, or I've just had surgery. And I'm like, we're 20 minutes into this class and you're telling me now. Where was this when I did the statement at the beginning? Does anyone have any injuries?
Well, you don't want to say that in front of the class, do you?
No, but if you put your hand up, the
Just wanna get on
instructor
with it.
will come over and then you can just say to them. You don't have to announce it to the entire class.
I'm lost. Where are we in this story now?
Yeah, sorry. Claire Williamson and her sister Dora were in what I think is Canada. They saw an advertisement for Linda's book. Dora's got swollen glands and rheumatic pains. Claire's got a dropped uterus. So, in their quest for wellness, they had already abandoned meat and corsets. So they'd also gone on to a vegetarian diet. Intrigued by Hazzard's Institute in Olala, they were determined to undergo her treatment, enticed by the promise of healing amidst the serene countryside. In February 1911, they arrived in Seattle. They were initially placed in an apartment on Capitol Hill, as they were told that the sanitarium, so Linda's office, if you want to call it that, was not yet ready. Here, their ordeal began. So Linda prescribed a brutal regime of broth made from canned tomatoes twice a day. That was it. Nothing else.
Sounds massively similar to what I've heard in recent years. People doing broth fasting and water fasting.
Yeah, but that literally they had a bowl of broth, and then they had another bowl of broth, and then that's it. Coupled with hours long enemas, 2 bowls of soup basically, and hours long enemas every day. Yeah, so you shouldn't need to be told what an enema is because we already discussed it earlier. But just in case you forgot, it involves injecting a liquid or laxative into the rectum to help clear out poo. Its main purpose is to relieve those who are constipated. The bath, where the enemas were conducted, were also covered in a canvas support. So when the girls started to faint after the treatment, they were caught in the canvas support. So that's how bad the enemas were, because these girls were fainting. As the days dragged on, their health deteriorated alarmingly. After 2 months, they were transferred to Hazzard's home in Olala, where they weighed a shocking...
Hold on, they've been fasting for 60 days now.
Well, they've been going through that 2 bowls of broth and enema treatment for 60 days, basically.
I'll say I having bone broth, so that's what's keeping them alive longer.
But I wouldn't be too relaxed just yet, because guess how much they weighed after 2 months of that?
Go on.
31 kilos. Or 70 pounds if you work in that weird system.
Tell me this isn't going on for longer, because I just want to know whether they're alive or dead now. That's disgusting.
The sisters were accustomed to their family's disapproval of their alternative medicine choices, so they kept their whereabouts a secret. It was only when their childhood nurse, Margaret Conway, sensed that something was amiss, and that the truth began to surface. After travelling to Vancouver, oh yes, so they are in Canada, woo, and boarding a bus to the sanitarium, she encountered Linda's husband, Samuel Hazzard, who informed her that Claire was dead.
Linda's husband, the one that ran away, or the new one?
New one.
Okay. Well, that would have been weird.
Just randomly pop up in Vancouver.
Yeah. Found him.
Well, this is awkward because I got a new husband now. Yeah. So, Mr. Hazzard told Margaret Conway, their childhood nurse, that Claire Williamson was dead. Dr. Hazzard claimed that Claire's childhood medications had harmed her beyond repair. According to her, it had shrunk Claire's internal organs, and that the treatment didn't work because of this, and that she was just too far gone to be helped. I mean, Linda's very good at covering her own arse.
Was there any jewellery or my stuff missing?
We'll get to that.
Go on.
However, when Margaret looked at Claire's embalmed body that was on display at the Butterworth mortuary, which Butterworth, what a great name for a mortuary.
Mortuary.
No, mort. M-O-R-T, because that's the French for death.
Is it?
Yeah. That's why it's Lord Voldemort.
Ah.
Ah.
Learnt something.
Yeah. And then J.K. Rowling was, no, you don't pronounce it with the T, shut up. She changes her mind all the time. Yeah, Margaret looked at Claire's body, but the hair colour was wrong. Her hands and face didn't match. And actually, it was all wrong because it wasn't even Claire.
Who was it?
I don't know. She is dead. Claire is definitely dead.
Okay.
But the body that Samuel Hazzard is showing to Margaret is not Claire. But he's going, look, there she is, it's Claire. But it's not.
The way you just described that with your hands was really creepy. Like you were doing it.
There she is.
Yeah, look, there she is.
When Margaret finally located Dora, she was alarmed to see that Claire's sister had dwindled to just £50 or 22.6 kilos.
That's bone.
Her bones protruded so sharply that sitting was painful.
Oh, Christ. Imagine being in that state. Oh.
I couldn't imagine being 22 kilos. I wouldn't want to be 22 kilos.
No, that's horrific.
So, meanwhile, Linda Hazzard, having assumed control of Claire's estate, now remember Claire and Dora are wealthy, and she became Dora's guardian for life. She had also helped herself to the sisters' possessions and an estimated $6,000 worth of their jewels, which included diamonds and sapphires. So that's the equivalent to nearly £500,000 today. Dora had also signed over her power of attorney to Linda's husband, Samuel. The Hazards helped themselves to Claire's clothes and household goods as well. Linda even delivered a report to Margaret concerning Dora's mental state while wearing one of Claire's robes.
Oh.
This woman is wearing her dead people's clothes.
Yeah, she's a serial killer.
Yeah, well, she is, because she's killed more than one person.
Yeah, and she's definitely doing it deliberately now. There's a motive.
Well, yeah. And this is what I was saying to you earlier, in the fact that at certain points I feel like Linda truly believes in what she's...
So do you really think that her husband went missing, as in running away, or did she kill him?
I can't say, but
She's a serial killer, so...
It could be that Erwin was the first victim.
Could be.
But this is where I'm torn, because if you think about her backstory and the fact that the doctor was giving her these like mercury pills and then she fasted and she's like, oh, I'm better. And then like obviously she went through the trauma of Erwin abandoning her and then she went through fasting. Like I can see why she's truly behind it. You've even said about the fact that obviously fasting does make you feel better, it cleanses.
Mm-hmm.
But then when she's doing shit like this, I'm like, it's definitely financially motivating as well.
Oh yeah, she's stealing their belongings and money, so yeah, 100%.
And don't forget, these people are paying to be here as well, and they're paying for this treatment.
Yeah, well, they're stupid.
Well, yeah, because most of them are dead. Margaret tried and failed to get Dr. Linda to let Dora to leave with her. But you've got to remember that this is at a time where social standing and order was really important. And some of the lower class, like Margaret, who, don't forget, she was, I say just a nanny, but unfortunately at the time that's how they would have viewed it, she felt too intimidated to contradict those of a higher class. And by all accounts, Linda was actually quite terrifying. It was thought that she had a terrible power over people and that she hypnotised them into starving themselves to death. It took the intervention of Uncle John Herbert, giving Linda $1,000, and British Vice Consul Lucian Agassiz, alongside a murder trial to bring the truth to light and confront Hazzard's sinister practices. They would uncover a disturbing pattern. Numerous wealthy individuals had fallen prey to Hazzard, signing over their estates before their untimely deaths. The Williamsons and Daisy weren't Dr. Hazzard's only notable victims. Louis E. Radar was a former state legislator and the owner of the property that housed Lizard's sanitarium, originally named Wilderness Heights. So that's how she got the sanitarium. So where her practice is at the moment, She didn't buy that. One of her victims had the estate in his name, and obviously what she's doing, she's getting all these estates and everything signed over to her. So when he died, she claimed the property and used that to open up her sanitarium.
Yeah.
And it was originally called Wilderness Heights, which I think is a much nicer name.
It is a nicer name.
In May 1911, Radar died while under Hazzard's care, raising questions about her methods and their safety. His demise was particularly concerning, given his status as a respected figure in the community. Then you had John Ivan Flux, a British patient. He came to America with hopes of purchasing a ranch. However, his pursuit of health and prosperity took a tragic turn when he sought treatment from Hazzard. Flux underwent her extreme fasting protocols, which ultimately left him in a dire financial state. By the time of his death, he was reportedly left with only $70 to his name. Eugene Wakelin, a New Zealand man, experienced a tragic fate while in Hazzard's care. Allegedly, he shot himself during a period of fasting, a devastating act that underscores the psychological toll her treatments could have on patients. After his death, Hazzard secured the position of administrator of Wakelin's estate, which allowed her to deplete his funds before anyone could intervene. It was said at least a dozen people are said to have starved to death under Hazzard's care, although some claim the total could be significantly higher. Hazzard's methods attracted the attention of authorities. In 1912, she faced a high-profile trial for the murder of Claire Williamson. The prosecution painted a gruesome picture of a woman who took advantage of her patients' trust, wielding her influence to exploit their vulnerabilities. What's chilling to me is how she rationalised her actions. Like, Hazzard believed that she was actually doing good, and that she felt like she was actually being a pioneer in the field of health.
Well, turn yourself a life for long enough and you'll believe it.
But ultimately, she was just a predator preying on the weak.
Yeah, for financial gain.
On the 15th of August 1911, Linda Hazzard was arrested on charges of first-degree murder for starving Claire Williamson to death. The trial started in January 1912. Nurses testified on how the Williamson sisters had cried out in pain during their treatments, and how Hazzard had forged checks, letters, and committed other fraudulent acts to empty the Williamson estate. It's also alleged, but this is important because it's not been proven, that Linda Hazzard was working with the Butterworth mortuary and had switched Claire's body with a healthier one so no one could see just how skeletal the younger Williamson sister had been when she died.
No.
Which explains why...
I'd believe that.
When Margaret looked at the body, it didn't match up to Claire's.
Yeah.
But I don't understand what they'd have to gain from that.
Well, it's to divert the attention, isn't it?
Oh yeah, no, I get what the Hazards get to gain from that, but what do the mortuary get from that?
I'm not too sure.
Or is it a case of like they've got like a funeral department with them, so obviously people die at Linda's place, send them to the mortuary and then they pay for the funeral through them? Maybe?
Is that how it worked then? Did people normally go to a doctor's to die and then they get rid of the body? No.
No, but if the Hazards and the mortuary had set up a deal...
Why would they be setting up deals without it being suspicious?
I don't know.
Exactly.
This is where I feel like the theory has some holes, because I don't understand it, quite frankly.
They must have been in on it.
It's a bit like with that Sweeney Todd thing, though, isn't it? About putting like the people in pies.
That is a completely different subject. But...
Okay.
I mean, that was different.
Well, it's also fictitious, isn't it?
I don't know, is it?
Sweeney Todd wasn't real.
Well, I wouldn't be half surprised if it was real. But no, it's not. It is a fictional character, right? Of course it is, but maybe someone's replicated it. That wouldn't surprise me either.
No, Sweeney Todd is a fictional homicidal barber. Fine. Thanks, Siri. Linda Hazzard refused to take responsibility for any of the deaths of her patients, including Claire. We can look to what she wrote in her 1908 book, Fasting for the Cure of Diseases, for her reasoning. She put that, quote, The death in the fast never results from deprivation of food, but is the inevitable consequence of vitality sapped to the last degree by organic imperfection. So basically what she's saying is, if you died fasting, it wasn't the lack of food or nutrition that killed you. No, it was the disease that you had somewhere underlying that killed you, and it was going to kill you anyway, so the lack of food just brought it on faster. You're welcome.
That bit, I'm not sure whether she actually genuinely believes her own shit there. Because that obviously wasn't the case. They were fasting for way too long and starving. Did she actually genuinely believe that they were healing at that point? Or was she... Well, no. She killed them for financial gain.
She wrote that in her book, so it's her words.
Mm.
So I'm assuming she has to believe that to a certain extent. To her, her trial was an attack on her by the patriarchy, who weren't happy with her being a successful boss bitch. And
she didn't actually say that. No way did she say that. Back in 1800 or 1900s.
That's just my words.
Oh, sorry. 19 what? Did she die?
I don't know when she died.
Was she 1938, wasn't it? It said at the start.
I'll tell you at the end when we get there. We're nearly there. But yeah, basically she was just a bit like, well, the patriarchy aren't happy with the fact that I'm a successful career bitch, basically. And the fact that she's a woman. Which I can kind of see that. But I also think it's...
Probably the fact that she's a woman, yeah, back then. Doing better than men, but she wasn't doing better, that's for sure.
Well, she was in terms of raking in the dollar, let's be honest. But I also think that's got absolutely nothing to do with that. And, you know, maybe the reason that people were attacking her in the trial is because she's killed numerous amount of people that died in her care.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe, Linda. Linda saw it as a battle between conventional medicine, so, you know, the stuff that's actually been scientifically proven to work, and more natural methods. Which I can kind of understand, because there are plenty of natural remedies out there, such as like honey, lemon, ginger, turmeric, stuff like that does actually work.
Yeah.
So I can see why she thought that, but equally there's a reason why the scientific methods work. Because they've been proven to work.
No, I agree with that too, yeah.
Hazzard also noted in her book that fasting for health and spiritual development is an ancient idea that is practiced by both yogis and Jesus. Which is great, but there's no scientific evidence to back any of that up. She claims that the ancient Greeks thought demons could enter the mouth during eating, which helped encourage the idea of fasting for purification. Pythagoras, Moses, and John the Baptist all recognised the spiritual power of the fast, while Cotton Mather thought prayer and fasting would solve the Salem witchcraft epidemic. All of which I can say is bullshit.
Yeah.
She wasn't the only person of that opinion either. Henry S. Tanner, a doctor who fasted for 40 days in New York in 1880, even offered to testify in Hazzard's defence in order to hold up the conventional medicinal fraternity to the derision of the world. That is a quote that I've read there. That's not my words.
Well, he's defending her because he's trying to save his own arse with what he's teaching, and
bingo.
That's the only reason.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't still mean she isn't a serial killer.
Yeah. Fortunately, he was never given the opportunity to testify. I literally, and I feel like you see it today as well in courts, you can literally find an expert in anything these days. You don't have to have a qualification to be like, oh yeah, I'm an expert, I know loads about this.
Oh, just go on the comment section of anything.
Speaking of which, I was stalking your threads the other day.
Yeah, I know.
What do you mean you know?
Because you liked my comment. And I was like, why has that come up on your thing?
No, so I went on to threads and then I saw that you'd commented on it, so then I liked it. And then I was like, oh, I wonder what else you've commented.
I don't actually comment much. I find myself writing comments and then deleting them because there's just no point, is there? You know, whether you're trying to actually educate someone or not, people just take it the wrong way and it's just not worth the drama. So
I did have a bit of a giggle reading some of your comments. One of them, I think you wrote big dog, but you wrote dog as D-A-W-G.
Yeah, I know what I do remember writing that. What was that about again?
I can't remember. I think it was like a gym post or something like that, or like you were taking the piss out of somebody.
That's
It
gonna
just
bug.
made me laugh, and I was like, "Oh, it's a good thing I love you," because some of your comments were very cringy.
Really? No, a lot when I'm writing a comment, I'm taking the piss normally.
No, I know. I think there was also one where a guy was doing a bent over row, and you ripped him to shreds for that as well because his back was arched.
Did I actually say something to that?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you did.
Oh, Mr. Beast, I know that's you, dog. Well, the post is gone, but the guy who commented or made a thread looked like Mr. Beast, but with a beard. He actually looked like Mr. Beast, the YouTuber. And I said, who are you kidding, basically?
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Beast, I know that's you, dog. Yeah, I was ripping someone because they were lifting something way too heavy for them, and they had these spongy shoes on.
Yeah, and also
I hate it when people deadlift doing that because it takes all the energy out. Like,
I just
it's so
hate
bad.
it when people lift in spongy shoes to begin with.
I take my shoes off if I don't have flat-soled shoes.
Yeah.
I just take them off.
I mean, my Metcons are pretty okay for doing leg day. However, what I will say is that, yeah, if I'm doing something, say like hip thrusts or lunges or squats, I'll do it in socks if I've got my Metcons on. Otherwise, if I know that I'm doing leg day, just put your Converse on.
You see people doing it in really thick, like running shoes.
Yeah, and then they wonder why they've got bad knees.
When they just start leaning forward because their heels come straight off the ground. Silly. Annoys me.
Yeah, and then the guy on that Threads thing, when he did the bent over row, he was pretty much upright as well, wasn't he? Because I think...
Oh, yeah, I said he was... the whole reason it's a bent over row is that you have to bend over. Like, yeah.
Yeah, I did that. I found your Threads quite funny.
Yeah.
I've lost it now, so don't worry, I won't stalk you.
It's ego lifters that trigger me. It's complete ego lifters. And then most of the time I don't say anything, but it seems to be a lot on Threads where people putting these posts up, and I just think, are you actually joking? Like,
I see the same on Instagram though. Like when I'm seeing like these women, and like they're lifting wrong, or they're trying to educate people to lift. The advice that they're giving is wrong. There's so many people who are so-called experts, they don't know fuck all. Yeah, and then all you see is the comments going, "Oh my god, you go, girl! Yeah, that's amazing!" And I'm like, okay, it's great that you're empowering each other, but can you just empower each other in a different way? Like, why don't you just say, like, you know, love your content, however...
Here's where you could be better.
Yeah, like, just because you're saying to somebody...
People get so easily offended, that's the problem. You can't say anything these days to anyone.
And the thing is that you can provide criticism without it being negative. That's why it's called constructive criticism, right?
Mm.
And it's like, I saw somebody the other day, and they were doing a bodybuilding competition. She was in a bikini, like a show bikini.
Mm.
And she was on stage, and yes, she'd done an amazing fat loss journey. And somebody put in the comments...
But she had no muscle. She was just...
Well, it wasn't even that. She was still... For a bodybuilding competition, she was still too overweight.
Right, okay.
And somebody had put in the comments, like, this is a joke. She's not in good enough shape for bodybuilding.
Yeah, I get there's trying to empower people, but then there's also not protecting people from not letting them rip the piss out of them, basically.
Right, and
protecting them in a good way, that you do actually love them. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Saying someone, no, you're not ready for that yet, is actually a sign of love for them, rather than saying, yeah, that you go for it, you look great.
But this is the thing, everybody in the comments was like attacking this person, being like, how dare you say that?
For being honest and actually showing...
Like why are you not appreciating the journey that she's done and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like...
Yeah, the majority of them people don't love that woman. The woman who made that comment, or bloke, or whoever who it was, who called her out for not being ready yet, is actually the one that's showing more love.
But then they started attacking her and being like, oh, look at your profile, you're like a fucking
beach
whale.
I see this all the time on Instagram. Like, there's so much negativity.
Yeah, and
and there's always that people go and click on people's profiles and then try and make it personal towards them. Honestly,
there's no need for it.
It's disgusting.
But what this woman said was right, and it's like, if you think...
But she was ridiculed for it. That's society now. That's how it is now.
But I'm sorry, like, bodybuilding, especially at a show level, is not easy. Not everybody can do it. That is the fucking point.
Mm.
You know? And it's just a bit like, if she's being honest and saying she's not lean enough to be... She even just said in the comments afterwards, she said, I'm not attacking her fitness journey. I think what she's achieved so far with her weight loss is great. I'm just saying, for that level of competitiveness or that arena, she's not lean enough to be doing that. She's still got ages to go. And she's not wrong in saying that. And it just really wound me up.
No.
Anyway, back to Linda. Despite the overwhelming evidence, Hazzard was convicted of manslaughter, not murder. She was sentenced to 2 years in prison, but was released in 1915 after serving just a fraction of that time. Upon her release, she resumed her practices undeterred and unapologetic.
Did any more people die?
Don't think so, actually.
Well, that's strange.
Yeah.
Maybe she had a quiet word with herself and was like, I got away with a bit there. Maybe I've got to rein it back in a bit.
I mean, she didn't stay out of trouble.
Oh, she didn't. Okay,
No.
Go on.
She just didn't kill anyone. After her prison term, she moved to New Zealand and continued to promote her dangerous dietary practices. In 1917, Linda was charged in Auckland under the Medical Practitioners Act for practicing medicine while not registered to do so. Because she used the title Doctor and claimed that she had a certificate from the Washington State Medical Board. However, she was found guilty and fined £5 in 1917 money. Not £5 in our money, £5 in their money.
I know that would be a totally different amount of money then, but it just sounds funny.
Yeah, I know. It's probably a couple grand. But I mean, you know, it's 1917. She's probably just gone, I'm in New Zealand, nobody's going to check. Yeah, sure, I got one in Washington State. So
we could get away with a lot more then, couldn't you?
Yeah, and she got found out, which is also hilarious. Because it's just like, you're in a time period where nobody checks anything. It's a lot harder to check stuff, and yet you still got caught. In 1920, she returned to Olala and opened a...
Is that actually how that's pronounced? Why do you keep saying that?
Because I have no idea. How would you pronounce that? Olala?
Well, that sounds too Mediterranean when it's America. So, Olala?
I just like saying Olala because...
Wait, where is she in the world at the moment?
Seattle.
Okay, so she's in America, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's gone from New Zealand back to America. Yeah, I have no idea how to say that, and it doesn't matter even if I try to say it properly, because somebody will rip me to shreds.
I've never seen that. I don't know of that place in America, so maybe it's a very small town somewhere, or maybe it'd be called something different now. There
are like so many things that people just mispronounce. Why don't you just get over yourself and just accept the fact that I don't know how to say it?
Yeah.
You know?
Should probably find out how to say it though after this though.
You would think, wouldn't you? In 1920, she returned to that part of America and opened a new sanitarium called the School of Health.
Nice.
Sounds a bit better. That institution burned to the ground in 1935.
Someone burnt it down because they were sick of her shit.
Probably.
Yeah.
Don't know, but yeah, probably. It was never rebuilt, and 3 years later, Linda Hazzard, then in her early 70s, fell ill and undertook a fast of her own to try and cure herself. However, it failed, and she died shortly thereafter. Today, all that remains of her sanitarium are a 7-foot-tall concrete tower and the ruins of the building's foundations, both now choked with ivy. How did you find that?
Linda, yeah, I wasn't as curious about that as I was the other one.
What, Brittany Dawn?
Mm.
Yeah.
Because that's a newer time, you see.
And that's it. That's Dr. Linda Hazzard.
Didn't last too long then.
And we will see you next time for some more health and fitness crimes. You can follow us on Instagram. Make sure you subscribe to the show if you haven't already. And we will see you next week. Bye.